All right, so we've got a great call today. We're getting into some updates on medbeds, medbed technology, but the primary focus today is going to be on what are medbeds, where does medbed technology come from, and we've got a lot of great information that we're going to talk about with the medbeds and what's available right now. And Christina, you're actually sitting in front of, and I think I am too. I want to try to get this technology there. We kind of put that so people can kind of see that. There we go. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is the origin of medbed and medbed technology. And if you get a chance, can you move that metal cart out of the way behind the one sphere? Just push it. Perfect. Perfect. There we go. All right. So, yay, out of frame. There we go. The cart has all those accessories and stuff on it. And so basically, the first thing that we're going to do is we want to talk about med beds. Where does this history of med beds come from? And, the ancient people were using med bed technology in Atlantis. And, one thing that you're going to find if you go to the post section of our YouTube channel, you're going to see that we've got a lot of posts there on ancient technology and ancient history. And the reason we do is because there are buildings and technology that was being used thousands of years ago that we still can't replicate or do today, nor are we doing. And so there's all these different Gobekli Temple and Chichen Itza and all these absolutely amazing structures, including the Khufu pyramid in Egypt, where they just found that there are bases and there's actually cylinder with spiral around them bases going down a kilometer underneath these pyramids. And so the first thing you see when you come on this video is dual tube plasma energy systems, which are inscribed in hieroglyphics that were clearly being used well over, 3,000 years ago. And so it's obvious that the medbed type technology was being used at earlier times in our history. At this point, right now, we're sort of rediscovering it. We do have, various types of technology here. You can see we've got a pod that we'll get into that's right here behind me. And we've got the plasma systems, and we've got some of the most powerful energy and frequency based technology right now that's available to the general public here at our location. But the goal is to kind of understand the past and understand how that intersects with the future. And when you understand that the technology that they were using thousands of years ago was actually in many ways much more sophisticated than what we have now, we don't really need to go to the future to figure out what were med beds and what med bed technology. And we've got brilliant scientists now, including Mr. Dan Winter, who are producing technology that is rediscovering the medbed type technology that was available thousands of years ago that was being used. So as the story goes, the ancients, when they came down to the Earth's atmosphere, and they were the ones responsible for building the pyramids and building a lot of these structures where you've got 900-ton stones that are perfectly put in place, that are chiseled out to laser type precision. It's clear that they also had technology that was advanced also for health and wellness, and that's really where medbed technology comes from. It comes from off planet civilizations, it comes from off planet technology. Even the quote unquote free government medbeds are nothing more than technology that's coming from off-planet civilizations and deep ops type programs. So all the talk about med beds and med bed technology far exceeds anything right now that we are using or anything that we've got on a human, Earth platform. This is all technology that was brought to us, and it was coming from very advanced civilizations. So one of the technologies that we have here behind us are the plasma spheres, the dual tube plasma systems. And these, once again, if you start off the video, you'll see that we've got these inscriptions where they're using dual tube plasma systems, which really constitutes true medbed type technology. So there are medbed pods out there now. We'll talk about that. But if you really want to get into some of the history of the medbeds and the medbed type technology, it's as easy as going back and looking into our past and seeing who were the people that were here, that were building the pyramids, building a lot of these very sophisticated structures. And therefore, you're finding that by going into the past, you'll see that this is technology now that's coming out in the future, but it's technology that's been around and has come from off-planet civilizations going back thousands of years. Now, the dual tube plasma systems that we've got here featured, and we have two of them. Me and Christine are in between the plasma spheres. Those actually run off an app, so we can pick very specific frequency sets to run for those. But basically, what they're doing is they are sending signals from both sides. And when both those signals hit in the middle, they implode and create an energy field that gets rid of all the negative frequencies, all the ones you don't want, and basically runs the frequency sets of the most beneficial frequencies for the body. And you can target very specific things. So we've used these for a lot of people with the eyes. We've had people in recently with stomach issues. We've got frequency sets that have helped people with their heart. We had a gentleman that had AFib that had been using these for a short period of time that no longer has AFib. So there's a whole host of things right now that with technology that's available right now, there we don't necessarily need to wait around for technology to come that we're going to talk about when that technology is going to be released. And that's always up to speculation, but it's quite clear right now that that's not going to happen anytime soon. So anybody that's, kind of hanging out waiting for the free ride or the free government programs, with the state of the world and the condition that we're in right now, there is no way that that technology is going to be unveiled because we're on the brink of basically multiple wars. We've got a lot of issues going on within different parts of the world, including even here in the U.S. And so it's not a time right now where you're going to see all these amazing things happening. Even people like JFK or Robert F. Kennedy, who's doing amazing work, is he's having to really get deep in the trenches and really fight. This is not something that is clearly over, and there's a lot of back and forth. So with all that being said, it's definitely going to be a while before anybody's going to see that. But the good news is that if you dig around and look at technology that is available now for a various host of different health issues, there's a lot of technology that's available right now. So why wait if you don't need to? And if you do a little bit of research on the technology, you'll find that there's a lot of really powerful technology out there. Now, we deal with a lot of medbed type technology. The unit behind us right here, which is the celestial pod, which we've got, and we can get in and get a little bit more in depth with that. That is a medbed type pod that has various technologies in it. And anytime you're evaluating a medbed is nothing more than a chamber or a technology that runs multiple different energy and frequency sets in it. And Christina here is joining us. It's who works with and is part of the whole family here.
That's my favorite.
Is the celestial pod.
I
Yeah.
like that one, and I like the fire ring.
Yeah, the Phi Ray we're going to talk about the Phi Ray system. That is the most powerful medbed type technology on the planet Earth right now that's available that we have found to the general public. And that literally is doing time reversal. It's literally spinning back time and it's performing negantropy. And so, therefore, in addition to that, it's running a massive spectrum of frequencies into the body. And that technology is off the charts powerful. And so I think the biggest thing is just not knowing. I think the general public, hears these general terms and they don't really understand what they mean. So a med bed could be the chamber behind us where you've got terahertz, ozone, negative ions, chromotherapy, gyrotherapy, red light technology. You've got a lot of different things in there, and those are all going to have benefits for the health overall. And then you've got the theta chamber, which is another chamber that you get into that spins, and that has a host of other technologies, and that's really ideal for PTSD. It's really good for chemical addictions. It has a whole host of other benefits that are out there. And so there's a lot of really good technology. And so when we look at a pod or a quote unquote med bed, really what you're doing is you're analyzing what is the technology that they're actually running inside that med bed system. And so, you have light energy, which photon, we've got the plasma systems, which to us and with our research are the most powerful technologies out there. You've got the EE system, which is also very beneficial. It runs lasers into a center, and they also hit an implosion. And the laser technology with the EE system creates an energy field, a scalar energy field, and those are also beneficial. And so when we look at med beds and med bed type technology, really what you're doing is you're analyzing what are they running? Are they running plasma systems? Are they running PEMF? Are they running red light? Are they running, what is the technology actually in the pod? Because that's really going to determine, what the system is, what it's ideal for, what it's going to be beneficial for. It's really not the pod itself that's performing the functionality other than, maybe providing oxygen therapy or perhaps something else, because the Tesla medbed system that we also promote and sell is actually doing like 7 different things while you're actually in a hyperbaric chamber. And so we have the bioscan system where we can plug you in, and within about 15 minutes we can look at every single part of your body, and we can see every organ, all the biomarkers. We might get 30 or 40 different points of biomarker feedback where I can see every part of the heart, the valve, the vein, the internal, the external. The internal might be great, the internal might not be so good, but we can immediately do a full scan on the body and get all the information on, from, what's going on and where we need to focus energy and where we need to focus energy and frequency based technology to assist with that individual person. And that technology is out now. And not only can we use the bioscanning system to do that, the bioscanner also runs corrective frequencies. So once we've done the data on that, then we can run the corrective frequency sets, and we can do before and after. So we get clear, tangible data showing clear benefits, and we can see what the benefits have been. And as somebody that's been through the bioscan system, when we have it here, we can run people through that and then determine that, okay, now that we've seen that there's issues going on, like I said yesterday, we had a woman in that had stomach issues. Okay, now with the spheres, the plasma spheres behind me, I can dial in very specific frequency sets for the pancreas, for the liver, for the stomach, for whatever part of the body that we can see is going to need some attention. And that goes in and breaks down your DNA, it breaks down your chromosomes. I mean, this is technology that's very advanced. I think the goal is really with some of these videos is to let people know that there is a lot of technology that's out there now. And there's even Tesla technology that we have here that has been, out for probably over 100 years that most people don't know even exists. And there's a lot of published studies that show the benefits that they were having using Tesla technology. Most people, if you're focused on health and wellness, you probably are familiar with the Rife technology. And Royal Raymond Rife back in the 20s developed a microscope with over 6,000 working parts. And not only did it have 6,000 working parts, it had over a 60,000 time magnification. They were able to look at living cells under a microscope, and they were able to see what the resonance of was that cell. So they could figure out what stimulated the cell. They could also figure out what frequency they could run through to destroy the cell if they needed to do that. And so, the modern technology now with the med beds is all well and good, but the fact is that if we rediscover our past, we're going to see that the medbed technology was actually being used thousands of years ago. And this whole premise that we've got to wait for the government to re-release it it's actually true. I mean, there will be a point in time where that technology will be coming out, but it's not something that you necessarily need to wait for. And if you follow a lot of our podcasts, what we do, we get into something as simple as the earth itself being almost a med bed where you put your feet on the earth, you bring electrons into the body. It helps reduce the blood viscosity. It keeps blood from clotting. It helps you sleep better. It reduces inflammation. Inflammation is the leading cause of death on the planet Earth. And it's amazing to think that by putting your feet on the ground and absorbing electrons, you can actually reduce free radicals, which are the source of inflammation. And so you tie into all these natural things around us. And so the premise that that we need to wait for something else somewhere else, that it might be coming, when's it coming, that whole thing to me is sort of it's nice. I mean, there is a day when we'll probably have all types of utopia type technology out there, but to sit on the sidelines and not do anything, and think that you're waiting for this to come when a lot of technology is out there. I think the educational process of understanding that there's just so much out there right now, as somebody that has the medbed technology here in the form of different energy and frequency based technology products, right? That's really what anything related to a med bed. The first question is, great, you've got a med bed. What are you running in it? Is it red light? Is it PEMF? Is it uh, sound frequency vibration? What are the working parts within that med bed? And as somebody that's talked to people that have been in a lot of these various government programs where med beds are actually used, you'll find that there's multiple different types of med beds. There's some that are plasma energy med bed systems, and we've got those right here. You can see these plasma spheres that are behind us. You've got that. You have holographic med beds, which really have not been released yet, but are reported to assist with regrowing limbs. And then you get into the whole thing with stem cells and stem cell technology. For people that are not familiar, there's patches that we also have that, you can put this patch on, and that stimulates copper peptides, and that actually activates dormant stem cells. Well, what happens when you activate dormant stem cells? You actually are starting to regress or slow down the aging process, because aging really comes to the point where, as your body starts or slowing down on activating stem cells, the aging process increases, right? And so people want to live 20 years younger. Okay, we'll figure out a way to stimulate your stem cells and slow down the aging process. You don't need to jump in a chamber of goo and breathe that in for 2 weeks to regress back 20 years, when you could be doing something as simple as wearing patches to stimulate and activate dormant stem cells. The stem cell thing also, which is actually interesting, came to me through a person that works at a stem cell clinic. So stem cells are used for a lot of different things. Um, but this particular facility puts people on these patches 60 days before they actually go in to do a harvest of the stem cells, which many times they'll inject those into various parts of the body, and then try to do rehab. They're using stem cells now for all different types of therapy. But as somebody that's interviewed and knows a little bit about the stem cells go where the brain determines they're needed the most. So if you're using stem cells and you say, oh, I got a bad shoulder, and your body has a messed up kidney or liver or something else, then those stem cells are going to that part of the body where they're actually needed the most. Now, if you stimulate stem cells and they're being activated throughout the course of time, eventually you get the aesthetic value. Eventually, they do get in and help with the rehab of muscle tissue, joints, wherever it is that the body determines they need them. But many times there's a lot of things going on internally that the body, that you can't see. That's why the bioscan system, when we run that, and it's telling me that there's internal parts of my body that are messed up, I don't know that by looking in the mirror, right? And so having the bioscanning technology to interface with the technology that we've got, the energy and frequency based technology, the Tesla technology, the plasma energy system technology, the Rife technology, the multi-wave oscillators, all these different things, when you can see the actual data and you can see the improvement and you can see all that happening, then you actually can start assessing and working directly on the parts of the body that actually need it. And so, as I started off the conversation saying, these dual tube plasma systems, which I have behind me, the plasma energy spheres, which are amazing technologies, they are inscribed in hieroglyphics. These were used thousands of years ago. And you're getting a lot of data now that's coming out about all these ancient, sites around the world where the technology that they were using to build is more advanced than what we have now. They're building pyramids with a million different blocks. Each one is cut perfectly, aligned perfectly. And over the course of two football fields, you're less than an eighth of an inch off. They tried to move a 30-ton stone to the Museum of Art in Los Angeles as a demo. It took over 20 cranes. They could barely lift and move a 30-ton stone. And these people were moving 90-ton stones and even bigger and putting them up on mountaintops and in areas where we can't even think about doing that now. So no reason to look to the future because you can look to the past and see that these ancient civilizations and technologies were actually being used at one time. So when we're using these dual tube plasma systems, we're actually using real medbed technology. Now, what were these medbed systems used for? The story goes the ancients, there's problems going on in the galaxy. The Kuiper belt, if you're familiar with that, was actually a planet at one time. It got blown up in an alien war, extraterrestrial war. It's now just a bunch of asteroids that spin around. But when stuff like that was happening, it was disrupting the Earth's atmosphere, it was disrupting everything in the galaxy. The ancients come down, they start building these pyramids. The pyramids are stabilizing the Earth's atmosphere. They're also the first free energy system. All those pyramids were constructed perfectly on meridians that were magnetic ley lines and all these different places where they could maximize the maximum potential of the pyramid. And if anybody's familiar with and I'll get to the question there for you. When they were getting to putting these technologies and these pyramids together, number one, stabilize the Earth's atmosphere. Number two, free energy system. Number three, if anybody's familiar with the Bosnian pyramid, you can look it up. Thousands and thousands and thousands of amazing healing stories from people being underneath the pyramids. And so they were using dual tube plasma systems to rejuvenate their bodies because they were basically aging prematurely. Their bodies were aging prematurely in the Earth's atmosphere. I don't think it's much of a stretch to know that every planet has a different type of an atmosphere. Some are more conducive to life than others, but the Earth's atmosphere was obviously different than what they were used to. So they were using dual tube plasma energy systems to basically help rejuvenate themselves. And that's why you see those inscribed in hieroglyphics. That's why these plasma systems, though, go way, way, way beyond just like quote unquote helping you heal or any of the basic things. They actually become mindful and intelligent energy fields, right? So you're not even just dealing with energy and frequency, you're actually dealing with a mindful and intelligent energy field. And therefore, what's happening is that these fields, this plasma system, they come and hit and they become toroidal. And as they do that, they tap into the frequency that your body runs on, your DNA, and they become mindful, intelligent energy fields. So now we're getting into clairvoyance, we're getting into lucid dreaming, we're getting into tapping into collective unconsciousness, we're getting into Akashic record frequency sets, we're getting into the kind of things that people like Edgar Cayce kind of lived in. But it's raising your frequency. It's also raising your ability as a spiritual being to tap into a lot of the natural gifts that you've been given that you might not even be accessing or using, but you all have them. And so, in addition to anything that you're using or getting benefits from a third dimensional body, you're also getting a lot of additional benefits from a spiritual perspective. And that goes well beyond anything that's trying to fix dimensional bodily issues. So, this technology is out there. I feel like it's important, though, right now to, not only talk about the technology, and this technology that we've got, is the most powerful energy and frequency based technology on the planet. We have another set of spheres right there. One tube you can see, Christine's kind of by the other one. But when you come over to our yeah, no, you're good. But when you come over to our facility, the first thing we can do is we can run a scan on your body. So I know within a question of 10 to 15 minutes, everything going on within the body, as far as energy, frequency, and it gets a 1 to 6 rating. So we knew right away one, twos, and threes, and fours and fives. Sixes is the less ideal. But now we know exactly what frequency sets we need to run for that person. And as I said when we started off the conversation, not only do we run that, but then we can run corrective frequencies. So if I say, okay, hey, Christine, this person's having issues, a lot of times people know coming in, hey, my heart's not good or my this is not good. And so we can immediately go in and adjust frequency sets just for those parts of the body. And so, and then we've got something as simple as a terahertz wand for pain, soreness, arthritis. Amazing. Christine, do you, Abby brought in today the discs. We have Wheel Crypto is something with spinal cord injuries. And I'm really glad, Wheel Crypto, I'm glad you brought that up because, um, yeah, you could bring those over, bring a couple of those, but um, we have another set of smaller ones that are in here. And Abby would probably know where she put those, maybe grab her. But you could give me those Tesla paddles. I'll start with those. Give me a couple of them if you could. Oh, they're tangled up. Yeah, no problem. But we have these are Tesla paddles that you can put directly on the body that send energy directly into the body. You know, your cells work on a multitude of different ways. And so we have different types of paddles that can go on there. And you can put these directly on heart, lungs. You've got PEMF cords right here. We've got a PEMF that you say, hey, my knee's really bad or my hip, you can put it on there. The spinal cord stuff, though, is going to be a little bit different. So Mr. Wheel Crypto, basically, as I had described earlier, what these plasma systems behind us are doing is they're sending frequencies. Now it's called centripetal, meaning that it's starting on the outside and funneling in. And as it funnels in and accelerates and it hits that implosion point, it creates this energy field, which you're in it. Now you're laying down in that table. And so you're actually in what we call the 0 point. The 0 point is where that implosion's taking place. That's the difference between a Rife energy system, which is a single tube system, and a dual tube system. They looked at the Rife technology and the plasma tubes and they said, wow, the best place to be in that system would actually be in the tube. And so then what they did is they separated male and female, and then they run this app. We've got like we can pick any part of the body to send frequencies to, but basically we're located in Richmond, Virginia. But basically, what they do is they send those frequencies. Now I can adjust the frequency set for what I want to run, but the very same thing is happening also with these little Tesla discs. We have these Tesla discs where you put one on your stomach and one on the spinal area that you're trying to get the energy and the the benefit to is probably the best way of saying it. So the exact same thing is happening. One disc is sending a frequency, the other is sending a frequency, and it's creating this little energy field in the body that's basically helping with rejuvenation. Now, spinal cord injuries can get into a multitude of different things. Because I deal with ICU based stuff on a daily basis in the medical field, and I deal with spinal patients weekly, sometimes almost daily. But the goal is, nerve tissue and nerves are really probably one of the most important things to try to reintroduce. And then obviously, you get that, you get muscle and cartilage and different things, but the nerves are really the primary thing. But if we can create these little mini energy fields within the body and focus them very specifically, there we go. I knew they were here.
I was like, she was like, I think they're those things. I was like, oh
It's
yes, they are.
these things right here. We got
These little
actually two
guys.
sets of these, but these things right here, there's actually two sets we've got here, so you might see. But we would put this one on the stomach, and then we would put this one right behind it, and then they would do the exact same thing that the plasma systems are doing. They're going to send a signal from one side, a signal from the other. They're going to create a 0 point in the middle. They're going to create an energy field, And that energy field is good for anything in the middle. So if you want to say, let me put some attention to my heart, you put one on the front of your heart, you put one behind on your shoulder blade, and everything that's in the middle is going to be in that energy field. And it's using the exact same principle that the plasma spheres are using, that a lot of the dual tube systems are using, and they're ideal for rejuvenation. Now, the difference between the plasma spheres that we've got here and the most powerful system that I found on the planet Earth, which is the phi ray system. And behind Christine, there's a computer that's throwing off a massive bandwidth of frequencies. The blue box, yes, there you go. Kind of right there. Perfect. Yes. And that thing's super easy to use. I mean, we're not talking about, being a rocket scientist as somebody that sells ultrasounds and x-ray equipment. That stuff gets complicated. Most everything we have is pretty simple. Plug this thing into a phone, put one on the top, one on the bottom. But the goal is to create these energy fields. Now, the dual tube systems are really good for rejuvenation. The problem with a lot of the medbed technology that people think I have to have like a third dimensional problem to use it. The goal is to avoid having bodily problems. The goal is to use technology just like you would go to the gym, just like you're going to eat right, to stay healthy and stay young. That's why something as simple as these patches and putting these on and stimulating stem cells and reverse aging from anti-aging from something as simple as a patch with crystals in it that'll stimulate and activate stem cells. That is all ways of staying ahead of everything and not letting stuff get to the point where there's breakdown. But if you have spinal cord injuries, there's been an accident, that all happens. And so the goal is to bring that stuff out and say, okay, if we've got an issue, this is going to be the best technology to address that. And that's why when we start again with the bioscanning system, and I can run a scan on somebody and I can say, wow, like with me, your pancreas doesn't look so good. It's like, okay, I would have never known that. But now that I do know that, I can start using energy and frequency based technology to address it. Medbed technology is nothing more than energy and frequency based technology. That's really all it is. And like we've said many times, um, these pods, they're amazing. There's a lot of people that make a lot of pods and they're quote unquote med beds. They have a lot of physical value. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that. They have a lot of benefit, right? But ultimately, what you need and the technology that you need is going to be different based on the situation that you're trying to deal with. So if it comes to certain things that are good, like as an example, Rife technology. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Rife technology. Royal Raymond Rife, an absolutely brilliant person who dedicated his life to creating technology to help the world. The single tube systems are really good for a lot of different things. Now, let's talk about Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and a lot of these cognitive diseases. This is data that's out there on the internet. This is not my data. This is just what you get if you really start digging in and reading it. But what you find is that you hear and see repeatedly that a lot of these issues with cognitive problems are coming from a buildup of toxic heavy metal in the blood-brain area. And what's happening is that when the toxic heavy metals get in the blood-brain area, viruses feed on it. As viruses feed on it, it causes inflammation. As inflammation increases around these areas, it starts cutting off the neural pathways, and therefore they start losing cognitive skills. So if you've got a Rife technology and you can go after viruses, then absolutely 100%, you're going to run frequency sets that'll take out viruses. You say, okay, this is what it is, and whatever it might be. Christine, can you grab my power cable under my computer? We did another Zoom call earlier or a podcast, so the computer's not plugged in. But to make a long story short, now what I would do is I would say, okay, we've got a book here, and I can pull this book out, but it's going to knock the computer down, which is fine. But let's go into our little book right here, and we'll pull up and say, um, I'm just going to show you this. I mean, I'm not going to get into it too deep, but hopefully you can see um, that there's frequency sets. There's 3,500 frequency sets in this book. 3,500. So if I go in and say Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, there's frequency sets that are rife-based frequencies that are going to be able to go in and address some of those things. Now, also, what I say, is that good? Yeah, 100%. But if we know that some of these issues are perhaps being caused by toxic heavy metal buildup, then we're going to also get in and we're going to recommend, or you can go out and find something that's going to be beneficial for toxic heavy metals. And I just, sorry about that. Trying to, it's that one right there.
Megan
Yeah.
came in there, she was like, it's this one.
It's that one, yeah, the ridiculously big one, but it's like a gaming
This
computer.
is like a giant panel right here.
It
You got
is.
like superpower.
Yeah, that thing is super powered.
Okay.
But basically what you're doing is you're going in and addressing issues based on what is the best technology for that person, right? Wheel Crypto, you were talking about the grounding, Beverly. I love that. I mean, it's so powerful. But like, if you have issues with the spinal area, these things are, they're not that expensive. They're less than $1,000. You don't have to go out and spend a fortune, on a lot of technology. That this right here, and those spheres and the other stuff we got, very powerful. I mean, it's very, very good technology. It's very powerful technology. But if you're going to sit home and you're immobile and you're in bed with a spinal cord injury, then just get something that you can use in bed, that you can use on a consistent basis, right? Because the goal is to find the technology that's best for you and what's going to be the most suitable. And there's times where the Rife technology, like I always say, the Rife technology is really great for killing bad cells. If there's cells you don't want, viruses, pathogens, people with Lyme, there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff coming out now on um, Epstein-Barr virus. I mean, a lot of times I'm looking at that and I'm saying, wow, that this report is showing that this is possibly being called by Epstein-Barr. Well, if you can dial in the Epstein-Barr virus with a frequency and you can zap it, that's what a single tube plasma system is really great for. When it comes to rejuvenation, when it comes to, other types of things, then, the dual tube systems are going to be the most powerful. But we've got probably 7 or 8 different technologies here, and we don't necessarily rely on any one technology to be the end all. The dual tube systems are phenomenal for all different kinds of things. As I was saying earlier, for anybody that wasn't on the call when we got started, the dual tube plasma energy systems are inscribed in hieroglyphics and pyramids, people. They were used thousands of years ago. The ancient people that were building these pyramids had very advanced technology. When they say, oh, the government medbeds, they're only releasing off-planet technology that has been here and disappeared from plain sight, over the course of time, which, it goes into the light, it goes into the darkness, it goes into light, goes into the darkness. But the bottom line is that if you really dig in and you get into energy and frequency-based technology and what's available and what's out there now, there's a lot of really powerful technology. We just did a podcast. Well, the terahertz wands. Do we have one that's around here? Christina, you're awesome. I love you. Thank you. It's so nice because I'm dialing up all this
I feel
stuff.
like Vanna White.
Yeah, and you know what? Abby is so good about putting stuff away. She always has stuff put right where it belongs. But the terahertz wands, we've got at least 40 or 50 testimonials, video testimonials on our website, on our YouTube channel here, on this channel that you're watching this on, talking about the benefits of how they work, what they do. You've got quartz crystal, red light, terahertz frequency. They're having great results for pain, stiffness, soreness, arthritis. These would also be great for, just a whole host of different things. But
It's all really like passive technology to use too. Like it doesn't require a lot of effort for you to use any of this.
it really doesn't.
And it's
I use this a lot for mouth, teeth, and gums. I've had abscess. I've used it for the skin, the hair. I hate to even get into aesthetic stuff because a lot of people are really dealing with some serious health issues and they're, in a very traumatic state. Um,
it doesn't hurt to look and stuff.
yeah, one of the GFL ships. You know what though?
On the what?
Starseed. The beautiful part is that the future is here today. That's why I'm in this setting. That's why our place looks like this, because the technology on these starships is already here on the planet Earth, right? It'll be all phenomenal when they deliver some of the tech that they've got, which is obviously more powerful. But the off-planet technology has been here for a very long time. It's being rediscovered, and we're like little kids in a candy store that get a chance to use it. But as somebody that has this facility, for anybody out there that's watching this, you're everybody's welcome to come here. You're always welcome to come here. Um, Christina, the power cord is still not plugged in. Oh, you got it? Okay. Because I don't want to have this podcast go, oh, he just disappeared. It's like, yeah, I forgot to plug in my computer. But we're in Richmond, Virginia. And you're always welcome to come here. We do ask, though, that you set appointments because we want to make sure that we have the time to spend with you individually. And we get people that come in here from all over the United States, and it's free. And that's not saying everybody can do that for free. We can because I'm also in the medical industry. We sell a lot of medical equipment. We have other ways that we can bring income in, purchasing and getting this technology. Obviously, there is a cost to that. There is a cost to having Christina or Abby or somebody spend time with you to run the scans, the bioscan system where I can look in and see every part of your body within about 15 minutes. I can see everything, third dimensional images spinning. I can see inside of the heart, kidney, liver. I can see what your knees, I see every vertebrae. I see everything. And then I can specifically adjust and put the frequencies on exactly what you need. And so, that's really, one of the things that wellness centers are trying to do. And there's a lot of great wellness centers out there. So, if you can't get out here, and you're not able to get to Richmond, like Wheel Crypto, I really am glad you brought up spinal cord stuff because as a guy that sells ICU beds, the highest end ICU beds, we're one of the only companies in the United States where if you need a high level of patient care, I had an email today. I wish I could screen share it. The lady is 100% in bed. She's on feeding tubes. She's got a ventilator, and she's going to be in bed the rest of her life. Okay, but to me, there's still hope that we can increase or improve that situation. And Beverly, you were talking about the grounding. Well, we've got grounding sheets. They've got red light technology in them. Um, yeah, we've got that there too. But the goal is to find something that we can help somebody live a little bit better life into. And so, if you can get in and use a plasma system, phenomenal. The plasma technology, the phi ray system, I keep going back to this on our GFL spaceship here. Uh, who is that said that? Starseed Collective. Thank you for that, man. That's kind of funny. I love it, but it's true. But there's another part of the ship. But that plasma system right there, that dual tube plasma system is, I want to say it's just under 7 grand. That is by far the most powerful piece of technology that we found on the planet Earth. And we've got a lot of stuff in here. And the chamber here is amazing. The EE systems are amazing. PEMF is amazing. All this stuff is amazing, right? But our goal is to layer the technology and say, okay, let's go with the right machine. This person's got cognitive issues. Let's run some stuff to go after Epstein-Barr, or let's go after viruses and pathogens um, related to Alzheimer's. And first off, also, we're not making any medical claims. We're not here to say that this stuff is treating, preventing, or curing any disease. I'll probably have to put that disclaimer up front, but this is all technology that's available right now. So that's really the goal is to try to get you a little bit woken up to know that if you have issues going on, maybe you don't have to wait for the free technology, the rediscovered technology, the stuff that's coming from the free government med beds is not going to be any more powerful than the stuff that they're using in Atlantis. It's all coming from extraterrestrial civilizations that are in many cases hundreds of thousands of years, if not even more advanced than we are. So the fact that they were here, that they've been doing this, this gets into kind of into the disclosure stuff. And I'm not, I don't really like to delve too far deep into that, but I think that with a little bit of common sense and looking what's going on, it's quite obvious that that's why we keep putting all those videos up about the amazing structures, the 900-ton stones, the 2 kilometer units that are they're going down a kilometer underneath the pyramids that are we can't even do that now. So, there's quite a bit more going on in the world than sticks and stones and people run around in caves, and that's not saying that that wasn't at some point also relative and actually happening. I'm gonna
That last one, she can email me
she can email who was that?
about an appointment.
Oh, an appointment? Yeah.
Mhm.
So you can email us or call us, usamedbed at Gmail. We all have access to it. Me, Christine, and Abby. We're kind of a little family here. And then you can also call us at 804 495 0770 and go to our YouTube channel, right? For me personally, I just document the people coming through here, the before and afters. For me, I just want to show success stories. I just want to show the improvement, and I want people to talk about the benefits. I don't really, I call it tech talk, but my goal is to really get the knowledge and the information on these products out there. A lot of these products are bought and put in people's homes. Um, the Tesla multi-wave oscillators, and I'm not going to have you grab those, but that's
Oh
in the
wait, no,
back
the one's
corner.
over that way.
Yeah, let me do it this way here. All right, let's just say I'm not the most gifted cameraman in the world, but
I was gonna say I
but
can
we've
like
got the red light technology over there. We've got the Tesla multi-wave oscillators in the back. We've got the oxygen generator, 91% oxygen. Christine is going to turn that over. That Tesla technology that she's holding is also dual. Like there's one on the left, one on the right. The plasma spheres are basically the newest version. It's like the newest science on that, right? And that Tesla technology was also very powerful. The results that they got with multi-wave oscillators was off the charts. And so, this is technology that's been out for over 100 years. Stacy Lynn from Florida, thank you for joining us today. And if you have any questions, throw them in there. I'm trying to talk and Salty Army Captain Wheels. Thank you, sir, for coming in. And Natalie Jackson, how about hydrocephalus? Um, One of the things I'm going to tell you that I do, Abby has my phone, or I would Google that, but I always type things in and I go to a website with a gentleman called Anthony William, who's medical medium, and then he'll break down some possible ideas about what is causing that and what the symptoms and what is possibly the cause of what that is. And then from there we'll kind of break down and say, okay, if that's what we're dealing with, then like the multi-wave oscillators as an example, and this is a general premise also with the terahertz wands, which are really good at a multitude of things. But here's another basic premise: healthy cells vibrate at a high frequency, right? So a terahertz is an optimal frequency for your cells. And when your cells get hit with terahertz frequency, it kind of puts them in their optimal frequency bandwidth where they're happy and what I call dancing. But garbage cells, which are the cells you don't want, pathogens, viruses, different things, a lot of those resonate at very low frequency. And so, what happens when a garbage cell gets put into a frequency that your healthy cells love? The garbage cells don't like it, and they can't maintain the vibrational rate that the healthy cells can, and it gets rid of them. So many times, like the multi-wave oscillator, what is it doing? Is it's oscillating, it's getting the cells back to their peak oscillation, their peak vibration. And so what is a byproduct of what's happening when that happens? The garbage cells they're not doing too well, and you're getting rid of garbage cells. Beverly, our website is healthylifetechnology.com. And maybe can you see if Abby, if she can jump on our podcast and put it in our chat? I can't multitask.
I believe it's also linked to it's linked to our YouTube.
Yeah, well, I'll also put it down in our I'll put it down in our I'll put it down in the comments, and I'll put it in our description, so you can get to it. We've probably got about 200 products on there. And the grounding technology is some of the best. I mean, if you're going to start with technology, thickening of the blood, that's what happens when your body doesn't get electrons. When your body doesn't have electrons, your blood starts to clump and coagulate, and thickening of the blood is not good. In this day and age right now, after what we've been through with a lot of different things going on, thickening of the blood has really come to the forefront of something that you want to pay attention to. And so when you're on grounding technology, the electrons that you come in from either touching the earth, which is a natural way of doing it, or um, touching grounding material, grounding fabric. Well, we have grounding pillowcases, sheets. But when you get that and those electrons come in, they coat the red blood cell. It reduces blood viscosity. It gets your blood to stop clumping and clotting. And that in turn then also lowers your blood viscosity. But imagine how much easier it is for your heart to pump blood when your blood isn't clotted. I mean, common sense, how much easier is it to run a car if your motor oil is clean, right? Your blood is really the same thing as the motor oil is for the car. And Christina knows a lot about
I was
cars.
like, that was a really good analogy,
Yeah,
actually.
right. So but that's just one thing. And then also you're bringing electrons in the body, um, you're reducing inflammation. Inflammation, once again, is a buildup of free radical cells. So just by grounding, just by putting your feet on the ground and absorbing electrons, you're neutralizing free radicals. Free radicals, by definition, are cells that are missing an electron. Because they're missing an electron, they're unstable. And every time your body has to replace a bad cell, it releases a free radical. The free radical takes out the bad cell. But if you're not touching the earth and your body doesn't have electrons, that free radical goes and strips an electron off a healthy cell. And then the body that's send another white blood cell, release another free radical. Well, what's happening is it's causing inflammation. It's a chain reaction of inflammation by something as simple as not touching the earth. And inflammation is killing more people on the planet Earth than anything else. So think about that. We're running around, we need a med bed. Well, I mean, can we prevent using med beds by connecting with the earth, bringing electrons into our body, reducing free radicals, reducing inflammation, and thus then reducing the stiffness, the soreness, the arthritis, the thick blood, actually sleeping better than reducing stress and anxiety, right? And so, there's just so many things that are around us that we can naturally grasp and get our bodies onto, that are natural forms. Like sunlight at some level does have potential benefits. There's a lot of potential benefits with sunlight, especially in the morning and the evening. It stimulates so many different parts of the body, and um, melatonin, serotonin, vitamin E. It's helpful for assisting with your body's immune system.
That's why seasonal depression can be like some people get those like literal like sun lamps basically to have in their home because
Mhm.
they get the seasonal depression. Not a lot of sunlight. They're staying in work all day. They're not getting enough sun absorbed into their skin. So
Right,
they have to do that.
right. So yeah, technology is phenomenal. I love technology, but I also like tapping into the technology that God has provided here on the planet Earth. We've been running around on this planet either barefoot or in leather sole shoes. It wasn't until we got into the rubber sole shoes that we started seeing a lot of mass increase in a lot of different things. But, once again, the goal is knowledge, the goal is education. If you're not able to get out, there's grounding technology. We have a lot of it. The blankets there that you were just talking about, blankets, pillows. So when you're laying in bed at night, your body's absorbing electrons while you sleep, and you're getting up to 20% deeper REM sleep. There's just and your brain waves actually run on the same frequency of the earth, which is the Schumann resonance. And so it puts your brain waves in alignment with the earth. It restores circadian rhythm. It helps you sleep better. Over 20 published studies about that. Um, what would be the best products? I'm going to go to a couple questions too. I apologize. If I'm bouncing around here. The Wave Watch, Natalie, is an amazing product. We've got a lot of videos. We actually have $100 discount on the watch right now. It runs about 1,200 frequency sets. It's amazing. Um, and just so everybody knows, there's a lot of different ways you can generate energy and frequency. It can be done with light. It can be done with sound. It can be done with PEMF. There's a lot of different ways to transmit energy and frequency. So sound is one of them. The Wave Watch is one of our favorite products. And I, know them, Linda, Carl, and John. They're a phenomenal group of people. Great story, great product. Beverly, you're very welcome. Hopefully you got that answer that you needed. And then Sally Army Captain Wheels. What would be the best product to start with for the price? Um, Cerebellum disease, red light frequency grounding. Well, let me just tell you what our top three selling products are. It's going to be the grounding technology. Now, the grounding technology can be something as simple as a pillowcase. If you have the money and you want to get the pillowcase and a blanket or the pillowcase and a bed cover, the more grounded you are, the better. But if you're going to start with one thing, the pillowcase. Now, the pillowcases, the bed sheets, the bed covers, they all have amethyst, tourmaline, and other crystals in them. So when your body makes contact with that, it releases red light, it releases infrared light. So you're also getting the benefits of infrared light in addition to the grounding. So I think that if you get the grounding technology, but if you wanted to say, and we just did this on the other call, did we put the red light stuff away? That little
I have
that little
right
panel
here.
right there, is that thing still? Is that thing plugged in?
I can plug it in right now.
You're the best. We've got little mini red light panels that you can um, so we got just these little tiny panels right here where I just hold this down for 5 seconds and then I hit red light and boom. And now I've got a red light, little red light panel. So if I say I want to put it here, or I want to put it on my wrist, or I want to put it on my neck, or whatever I want to do. But these little tiny red light panels, and they also do infrared. So I could say, okay, let me do infrared light. And the infrared light, it's a little bit harder to see because your eyes don't pick up all the spectrums of the light frequencies. I think we only get about 7%. These things are like, I don't know what they are. I want to say $150. They're really not that expensive. Some of the grounding technology, we have the bio shields, which if you want to go with just something that's really in the lower price range for 120 or $130, you can get a big piece of grounding fabric, which 40% of it is actually coiled silver. Um, and so then you get the grounding technology, put that on your pillowcase or put that on your desk or, wherever you sit by the couch. So there's a lot of technology and, the mate, I'm not familiar with what that is, but, I love the fact that you're out there looking and, there is such a mass amount of really great technology that's coming out right now. So, the medbed type technology for anybody that's jumped on or has come on a little bit later into the call, is nothing more than energy and frequency based technology. The beginning of this podcast or the beginning of this live is showing photos of dual tube plasma energy systems like the one behind me and Christine, inscribed in hieroglyphics. And they were used thousands of years ago by the ancients who were basically off planet civilizations that came here and, they not only built stuff that we can't even build today, but they also had very advanced technology. Everybody that's saying, "Oh, I can't wait for the free government med beds." Well, I'm not waiting. I'm using technology now that's helping me live a healthier, happier life. At 59 years old, I feel pretty darn good. Later today, I will take two 30-pound dumbbells and go hump those around Deep Run Park,
Yeah.
and that's a 1.8-mile hike. Um, and but I'm stimulating with that little patch. I keep pulling this off. That stimulates. It's activating dormant stem cells. That's the more stem cells that get activated, the better it is for reducing and slowing down the aging process. The aging process, in fact, is you know, partially being caused by you not activating as many stem cells. And as your stem cell activation goes down, the aging goes up. So a lot of these people are all about, how do I reverse age or how do I go look younger? Well, start integrating something really simple like a patch that is mainly crystals. Now, the interesting thing about that is that we're light beings, we're throwing off light energy. And so what the patches are actually doing is reflecting a little bit of that light back into your body. And so the whole premise of us being light beings is also a really good uh, kind of a foothold to kind of base your reality in that, underneath all the bodily stuff, there is actually a spiritual being that's in there and it's a light being and we're all kind of, cosmic stars and dust. Um, Beverly, do your grounding mats have to be connected to a wire? and go outside into the ground. So can you grab me, whichever one's the easiest one to get to? I'm going to show you that because the stuff with grounding. So I'm not sure if people are aware, but in the 1950s, that became standard code where every home had to have a grounding rod put in. And the grounding rod, the primary purpose of that grounding rod was to neutralize an excess of electrical energy. So if there's a lightning strike and all that energy came into your electrical outlet or into your house, it would send it into that copper rod, and in that copper rod, it would basically send that energy into the earth, and the earth would neutralize it. But on the flip side of that, the interesting thing is that the copper rod, that's also your grounding rod to dissipate excess energy, also is conductive and can bring the earth energy directly up into that rod and into your outlet. So this grounding plug, which hopefully you can kind of see that, the only thing it's actually using is this. That's just going into the grounding, which is connecting to the grounding rod. These right here are plastic because the grounding technology is not. It's not requiring anything electrical. It's using the Earth's energy, and the Earth's energy is coming from the grounding rod, going into this outlet. And then, if you can see here, that's all silver thread. All this thread is silver. 40% of the surface of this technology, of this grounding technology, and this is the blanket. This is the blanket right here. And there's a pillowcase, a bed cover. Yeah. And it's coiled silver, meaning that why is it coiled silver? It's coiled silver because the natural thing that's going to happen with the fabric is it's going to bend and flex and twist. If you've got just a strand of silver in there and it starts doing this, guess what? That strand of silver is going to break and that grounding is going to not be functional. So in order to counter do that, you can see there's a lot of grids and stuff in there too, but it's coiled silver, meaning that when you push down, the silver and the thread flex into it. The beautiful part, it's made in Charlotte, North Carolina. But basically what you're doing is you're plugging this thing into your ground, into your plug. The grounding is bringing it into the fabric. The fabric then, with 40% of the surface of this thing being silver, is bringing those electrons into the body. Those electrons are neutralizing the free radical cells, which are cells that are missing an electron, that are unstable. But as you touch this and your body absorbs electrons and you neutralize free radicals, you're reducing inflammation. Not only reducing inflammation, your blood is getting back to normal. It's stopping the clotting and the clumping. And the clotting and the clumping of the blood, as we talked about earlier, is being caused because you're not making contact with the earth. Now, the earth is a big battery. You're an electrical creature, and tapping into the earth energy is beyond important. Like, and none of us are doing it. And even people like myself. Now, Christina will tell you when we do our walk at the park, me, Christina, and Abby, because we want to talk the talk and walk the walk. I mean, you can say all this stuff and it sounds good, but if you don't practice it, shame on you. But we're fortunate here in Virginia that we've got a lot of great places we can go out hiking. But Beverly, I hope you could do it though, Beverly, also with the wire. So you could take a wire and you could put a rod outside your window, run a metal wire up to your blanket, put metal duct tape, that on there, and you could do it that way. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, but it could be easily done that way. That's the actual way that a lot of this stuff was discovered. There's a great documentary on YouTube, number one, called The Earthing Movie, but another one about a guy in Alaska who goes in and starts giving out these metal rods and wires and tapes and grounds like this whole village, like I don't know how many people, I want to say like maybe 100 people in Alaska. And every single person gets benefit of it. One lady's like, my husband stopped snoring. The other one's like, I feel so much better. And the one person that doesn't buy into it is the doctor. And finally, by the end of the documentary, the doctor's like, okay, this grounding stuff is for real. And that's really a great testimonial. It's really a great video. The Earthing movie also talks about that. And so, you know,